All right, so we're going to get started. Tonight we're going to just try to go for an hour and a half to 2 hours here. We have quite a bit of information that we want to talk about today, but it's kind of an open forum. We want to start by talking about the Fools trainings that are coming up. So this kind of the opener to the Fools trainings, and then we're going to go to Shoshone 1 in Wallace. They've offered us 2 houses to the Fools to use, so January 19th and January 23rd. We're going to do hands-on about 10 a.m. till dark, so which is about 3:30, 4 o'clock, maybe even earlier up there in the valley. But we're going to do all sorts of hands-on stuff. We have a lot of instructors. We already have over 15 to 20 people signed up for the hands-on courses. So if you're interested in attending one of those 2, it's on the flyer that Fools sent out. If you need a flyer, you want more information, you can email Fritz.
Just at the Coeur Fools Gmail account.
coifools@gmail.com. So those are the Fools events coming up. A couple of other big classes coming out. Today we put out the Backstep Firemanship Symposium, save the date. It's going to be the 21st and 22nd of September, where we believe we're going to do a half-day hands-on, probably a Know Your Flow with Brother Kevin Shea on Friday. So we're planning on doing a half-day hands-on Friday. Know Your Flow, that'd be with Akron Brass, or Elkhart Brass, Kevin Shea with GRS, and then MES. And then Chief Kurt Isaacson is going to be our keynote, and we have several other presenters coming that we're going to start sending out. Andy Stumpf, retired Navy SEAL, will be presenting. We got a couple other ones coming. So as we get those, we'll keep sending that stuff out. We have Crash Zone is going to be on again this year, the weekend of June 1st and 2nd. It's going to be a partnership this year between us and MES and Ellen Curtis. So we'll be bringing in a couple of extra, a little bit different equipment. We have the owner of Paratech, who's going to be bringing us a whole trailer of Paratech equipment. So it's going to be a pretty big event again. And then right now we have the Firefighter Fitness Challenge that's coming on. Mitchell, if you can.
Coming up we have the Firefighter Fitness Challenge. It's just put on by local responders. We're doing it it's a 9-week challenge. NutriShop has offered to help us with some of the organization. So it's $25 buy-in fee to participate in the challenge. It's basically weight loss, muscle gain challenge. With that, you pay your $25 fee. You go to the NutriShop to register, and the registration is.
We'll switch over to that flyer if you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it with 2 things at once. Registration is the 30th through February 2nd. After February 2nd, that's when the challenge starts. It's going to be just kind of a fun police and firefighters get together, try to do some workouts together. We've secured workouts at CrossFit Coeur d'Alene, ASAP. We have Iron Lion Jiu-Jitsu. They're going to do a free class for us. Coeur d'Alene Power Yoga, Peak Fitness. So each week we're going to have a different workout offered that you'll be able to attend for free. By going to that workout, you're going to get an extra points towards your final score. And then we also have secured some different presenters to come in. We have a physical therapist coming in to talk about injury prevention. We have someone coming in to do a talk about sleep deprivation. We have a nutritionalist that's going to come in and talk about nutrition and healthy eating or good substitute eating to keep yourself healthy. And then the prize. We've got 3 different prizes, first, second, and third, and there's going to be a male division and a female division. If you guys look at your screen, I mean, there's some...
No female.
The first place prize, $300 cash, which was all money that's been donated by local police and firefighter unions. And then all of these different businesses have stepped up and given us different things to throw in the pot for the prize. The way that you're going to get points is by pounds lost, muscle gained, and then I believe something with total body percentages. So it should be a good event. $25, and it's for all local first responders and their spouses. And then like our administration staff and so forth, they're all welcome to attend also. So again, January 30th through February 2nd is where you'll go to register. You'll register at the Nutri-Shop in Coeur d'Alene, and it's going to cost you $25. And then from when you register, we'll give you all the information as far as when the classes are and all that different stuff.
Perfect. So as we go through the rest of tonight, as we start talking about these things, we do kind of want an open forum. So if you guys have topics or if you want to talk about it, say it in the chat box, and then we'll get to it. Mitchell's going to be monitoring the chat box, and then then you can unmute and talk. That way we can try to keep this somewhat organized. Our goal is, if this works out, we're going to try to make this kind of a quarterly Fools event. Just get around and talk about tactics. So as we start, just quick introduction. We have Chief Welch, Division Chief Mather, Training Chief Northern Lakes, Battalion Chief Rick Clutter, President of Fools, has blessed us with his presence, Fritz Gibson, Mitchell Kopstead, Engineer Cooney, and myself. So if you guys have topics as we go, just interrupt us or talk on the chat box, and then we'll get to it.
No, I'd like to encourage rabbit trails. So if you got something you want to talk about or bring up, let's go down it. And also, if you have an idea for something similar or want to do a guest speaker or got something you want to present, please bring the idea up to us so we can put it together and get something going. But other than that, yeah, looking forward to seeing how this goes, and we're open to suggestions too. Whatever's out there.
I think to kind of start tonight, we'll just talk about a couple of the basics. So hose, ladders, and search. Hose, ladders, and search. Those are going to be kind of 3 of the main basics, and then we can go off of each one of those. So I think let's start with pre-connects. The pre-connect. We live and die by our pre-connects, right? I think most apartments have 200 foot, some have 150 that we've been to around here. What's kind of the benefit of the pre-connect, and what are some of the things that we've seen us die by the pre-connect, essentially? Well, we rely so heavily on the pre-connect, whether it's the 1 3/4, whether it's the 2.5, even bumper loads, for trash fires, car fires. I mean, that's just our go-to. And what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think sometimes I'll be ignorant to limits, because I think that's just what we're always going. There's always things that grew up the bread and butter of the house fires and all comes in before the frequent. Then even if the fires are bigger, what comes up with the frequent, because they're not usable, not loose and a half, 1 meter loose and a half. Or not forward or short with that 200 foot. Where do you have? You have it in a pump, you have it in another, whatever's going to work for you when you're training. You've got to be prepared for that.
I think one of the benefits though is familiarity, how quickly it's deployed, and it's a manageable hose line. We have minimal firefighters there on an initial attack.
I would say the only downfall was a recent fire we had.
You guys need to talk about it.
Okay, one of the downfalls was a recent fire we had where the officer, I happened to be in the area and arrived on scene, Officer got out, started doing his hot lap, called for a 1 3/4, it was a basement fire, walkout basement, called for the 1 3/4 on the Charlie side. The setback wasn't that far, but the house was. So what they ended up doing was, the engine was a little short, they didn't quite pull a 3-sided view, so when they pulled the pre-connect off, the firefighter grabbed it off the officer side, drug it around. By the time he got back, they didn't have a lot of working hose line. So what they had to do was they started fighting fire, but then realized they were short maybe another 25, 30 feet to get deep into this. So they had to, and stop, break down, and get a line. Not the end of the world, but again, judging that pre-connected distance.
In what I was thinking when you were talking about that, Mike, was who did the 360? Was it the engine officer?
Engine officer.
Okay. One of the things that when we start talking about that, the stretch is when you're doing your walk around, and I think one of the things that we all try and encourage every one of us to do is to count those steps. We do a lot of walking on the fire ground and start ingraining that in your head. I know there's a lot of other things going on, but when you're doing that walk around, if you can say, okay, it's 40 steps for these two lengths of hose, then when I'm doing that, then I know that my pre-connect could potentially be short and say, okay, let's go to plan B, whether it's pull the 2.5 off and do a feeder line off that. So to start to ingrain that as more of a training when you start talking about the setbacks and how much hose am I going to use.
Because initially, I think his idea was, we're not that far up the street, 200-footer, I got no problem, I'll be able to get the guys to bring that back around and move it back to where it was now.
Right.
Then you fall in the trap of when we had that. Especially when you start fighting fire.
And how do you add it? Are you shutting down your whole line, or are you breaking off your nozzle, and if you have a breakaway and able to add just 100 feet onto the end of that
I
hose?
think that, to me, that would depend on what your crews are engaged in. If they're in a heavy fire, you want to add it there, or you want to just keep spraying the water and have it pump and back out, and you have to leave the conditions the way you have.
So I think in the breakaway nozzle, so, we have breakaways that have both the fog capability and the smoothbore capability in the same nozzle. So it's an integrated 15/16 tip with a threaded adjustable fog nozzle on it. And the nice part is we can shut it down and add straight to that. The downside is that a lot of departments aren't carrying extra hose. We carry 2 extra bundles of 1 3/4, so one's 150 foot, one's 100 foot, with smoothbore nozzles on each one. But when we've been around, a lot of people, they don't carry, they might have a few extra rolls, but definitely not another nozzle, not a Y. And you don't want to Y off of 1 3/4 to another 1 3/4. It just kind of plays into pre-planning, I think.
Well, it prompted me to do just that. We carry extra hose with no nozzle, with a smoothbore tip, I've broken it there, added to it, wet down that nail, and then gone to work. Well,
Exactly.
the hose came out with no nozzle, so I think we're going to go back and say, we're going to store exactly what you're talking about. So if they have to bring that out there, they can go right to it, shut it down, break that off with that.
The other advantage to a bundle like that is you can add it to 2.5. So you start with the 2.5. If you're 2.5 with whatever tip, as long as you have 1.5 inch threaded end on it, you can now attach your 1 3/4 either straight to the nozzle or for later, after initial knockdown, or shut it down and add a Y. Speak louder.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate that we have the budget for that. So we have the budget to have extra hose in the ground. Not every, most departments don't.
Right.
All right.
In my past life, a smaller department with very large houses and very large setbacks, my go-to was always pull that 2.5 pre-connect, unhook my pre-connected 1 3/4, and basically set up a trunk line, because it was too often that either we couldn't make it up the driveway to get within range of our 1 3/4, or huge setback, huge house, and just use that trunk line, throw a Y on the end of that 2.5, and you can run 2 lines off of it.
Also, the other nice thing about that too, as you say, Mitchell, is if things don't go according to plan, you've got another big line on the ground ready to do business. We're not trying to play catch up with the fire, and now we're going to go back and pull the 2.5. So you're already kind of pre-planned for that, whether it's because of the size of the structure or the setback, or just things didn't go real well with that first line. So in that regard, it's kind of a win-win.
We were talking earlier about estimating the stretch, and I think Johnny wrote on the text thread, people stop estimating the stretch with pre-connects, which I think is entirely correct. It has kind of dumbed down our estimation of, most of the time, single family, 1, 2, 2.5 story, we're going straight for the pre-connect. And I think we were talking before this, about driving around using the rangefinder, we use for hunting. Most of us have one. We drive around, take it from the engine, and first have your crew guess how far they think it is to the front door, to the back door, to the delta side, and then do it and see how close, who's the closest. And whatever it is that you use to determine your distances in your head, whether it's a roll of hose. We all unroll 50-foot sections of hose all the time. So my guess from here to this wall, is 50-foot roll. So 2 50-foot rolls. I mean, whatever it is you use as your base, continue to do that, but test yourself. Get a rangefinder. Most people have it. It doesn't work for me. I still miss. But so I think moving from the hose itself to the nozzle and GPMs. And even you guys out there, if you could write on the text thread or on the chat thing, what size tips do you run? Are you automatic? Are you breakaway with an integrated smoothbore? Are you just smoothbore? And if so, what size tip you have on your smoothbores, both for 1 3/4 and for 2.5?
I was just thinking more about the stretch too. Is we get into that pre-connect box, and even with a lot of the setbacks, and I always try and think maybe not so much in feet, but it's lengths, and start looking at lengths. How many lengths of hose am I going to need? And while we may not quibble over is it 30-foot or 50-foot, I'm still going to need one length of hose to get from point A to point B. So when you start looking at setbacks, I'm going to need one length to get from here. I'm going to need one length to be able to get into the building. So there's 100. And then if it's a 2-story, I'm going to need another one to get up the stairs and another one to do business up there. So there goes my 200 foot. And rather than, I think you have to look at the feet as well, but don't quibble over that 20 foot, whether it's 30 or 50. I'm still going to need one length of hose. Are we going to stretch it tight to the door? Is some of it going to be in the street or the yard? So it eats up the hose pretty quick. And that's, I think, a lot of times where we get on the short end of the stick with the pre-connect. And we fall back to what's, I don't want to say easy because we're lazy. We're not lazy. But it's easier to pull a pre-connect off than it is to pull the 2.5 off, get it to the door, and then go back and get the pre-connect. That goes back to the training. Yeah. So that's why I think we get caught in the trap a lot of times. We don't look at it as we're into the feet thing.
And when an officer gives a command to pull 1 3/4 to the door, the fireman should be thinking as well.
Exactly.
It's not just the officer that does what I want.
Right.
They should be thinking about it too, like, I don't know, please get to where he wants you to go.
And as a good firefighter, you can realize that. It's like, so I don't care if it's 1 3/4 off the end of the 2.5. That's good for you for thinking. Yeah.
Smart knowledge.
Yes.
Nobody's answering our question, so we'll talk about what we have and what you guys have.
Yeah.
I think specifically, the big topic right now, 1 7/8 versus, or 7/8. Oh, but yeah, so.
One more on the stretch.
Yeah,
I know something that we've done is we've just taken a rope back. So different areas in our district where maybe it wasn't a good idea to pull hose necessarily in an apartment complex, in the road bagging, where you would reach, or how many lengths of hose potentially at the stairwell or a couple floors, so you can perspective. The more you do that kind of stuff, I find you can get visualize it and anticipate that.
Yes,
Possible.
yeah.
You don't know what you're going to walk into that this particular structure. So that changes the dynamics of going through that door. You're burning up 50 foot of hose just to get to the stairs before you can head upstairs. So, 50 feet.
Shoshone, Johnny, and I think Shoshone too, guys, what kind of nozzles do you guys run?
Yeah.
And while we're waiting on that, so the debate right now, 7/8 versus 15/16, and then the true diameter stuff. So nozzle creep, hose creep, I guess would be the term that Dennis Severe is using. But we've been running 15/16 at 185 GPM, and with that comes increased nozzle reaction. While you do get 25 more gallons per minute, what's the advantage of that 25 GPM when you have to have extra nozzle reaction? And the same goes for pumping it, under pumping it, over pumping it. It's proven pretty well that with the 7/8 you can under pump it and over pump it and still get between 150 and 180 GPM. So what do you guys run?
We're running 15/16,
15/16.
but not true diameter hose.
Right.
So doing some simple flow tests, we found that we were over pumping our fire hose, not being true diameter.
We were under.
We were under. Yeah.
We were under, yeah, pretty good. We were quite a ways under.
Severely under pumping.
Yeah, but are you running true diameter?
So we had some Chinese hose that was maybe not. I'm sorry.
PC said no more China.
Made in China. And then when we were doing our last recruit camp, I was just looking for the picture, but we were building some of our bundles, and we unrolled 6, 7 hose spools right next to each other.
Lengths.
And the lengths were between, 1 to 8 feet off. I have a picture of it, I was just looking for it.
Probably wasn't extra TV.
Yeah, and it wasn't an extra 8 feet.
They were charging you.
That's true.
Exactly.
So we do have responses. Coeur d'Alene Fire is running 200 feet, 1 3/4 with 15/16 smooth bore.
Coeur d'Alene, are you running true diameter or are you running the standard fire hose that is true diameter? Do you know?
And then scroll down to see if there's any scope.
It's an interesting.
So help me with, I'm not sure I understand the true diameter line, and I'm not sure everybody else.
So a lot of fire hose manufacturers, we're buying key hoses.
Key, okay, yes.
Now they sell a true diameter,
Right.
which is 1 3/4 inches on the inside.
Inside diameter.
To the millimeter or
Yes.
whatever
Okay,
you want
yeah.
to call it. And you buy their standard fire hose, it's actually, believe it or not, 2 inches, or damn near 2 inches.
Okay,
When it's full of water.
okay, so it expands that.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Well, true diameter doesn't fall into that same category. It's 1 3/4, that's what you're getting.
And it stays at inch.
And it stays at 1 3/4.
Okay.
So whatever it's rated to,
Right.
that's what,
Okay.
2.5 inch true diameter stays at 2.5 inch. Our 2.5 inch diameter, now we had Akron come out and do our estimations and calculations. We said our 2.5 inch hose is like 3.03 inches.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So that just tells you right there. That can be a difference when you're trying to,
Right.
I need this many gallons out of this nozzle.
Right.
I'm not getting that when I look at the pump charts and start doing flow calculating.
And we brought out a flow meter. Did we have Acton? Or no, we had task force check come out. And we redid our pump chart after we did set up all kinds of lines and did the flow testing on our hoses and then created our pump chart off of that. And we're buying national national hose, and I can't tell you for sure if it is true diameter or not. City's running the key, and theirs is the rubber jacket. We didn't know if it was true diameter or not.
There's a note on here to check out Aaron Field's Rule of Threes YouTube video for some good training. Was that you, Steve, who wrote that?
Yes.
There you go. 7/8 tips on 2 packs that they won the 7/8 tip at the 2018 Backstep Firefighter Symposium that we tried to buy from them. Inch and a quarter on their 2.5s, and that's what we do as well. Inch and a quarter on our 2.5s. Elkhart just came out with an inch and 3/16, which is, kind of in similar terms, going to be the best nozzle for over for the diameter of the hose. That they're saying that the 3/16 now is going to be the leader in tip for a 2.5-inch hose. I don't remember off the top of my head what that is. I don't remember either.
Nozzle reaction?
I think it reduces nozzle reaction. It decreased GPM, but easily overpumped to meet.
Right.
I mean, and I'll find the article before we're done. I'll send that out as well. Anything else on hose?
I did. It's an hour and 27 minutes. So just search Aaron Fields on YouTube and type Rule of Threes. It looks, I've seen it before, but I don't remember it.
The other benefit, just for departments that are on here too, is having a relationship with vendors, regardless of what brand you buy. Typically, it's pretty easy to call and say, hey, we want to do a flow test. We're looking at nozzles, which you are looking at them. I mean, you might not intend to buy, but they'll come, they'll run their flow meters. Cooney Fire is buying one in the next couple months, a flow meter, digital flow meter. So I'm guessing, other departments wanted to borrow it.
I believe Coeur d'Alene had, I know Bob Showball at some time did some pretty extensive flow meter testing on their hose and their nozzles and their engines. And came up obviously with an engine trial. Engine A didn't flow the same as engine B, and same as the same nozzle. Whatever the issue happens to be.
And it's the same with pressure too. I mean, we're not only watching GPMs, but we're trying to figure out pressure, both pump discharge, at the discharge, and then at the nozzle. You'll find that as you mix and match hose, those pressures aren't the same.
Right. Right.
Which leads to a big.
And I guess what I would encourage you to think about, and we talked about, 7/8 tips. We've talked about 15/16 for 1 3/4, and we've talked about 1 1/4 for 2.5 and 1 3/16 is don't get caught in the trap of some of the departments that don't have a lot of money to say, well, we have to buy a 3/16.
Yeah.
1 1/4 will certainly get you in the ballpark, and 1 1/4 has been around for a lot of years. It's kind of tried and true to whether you underpump it or overpump it. It's probably a little easier to be underpumped than it is for a lot of manpower reasons. So I think sometimes we get in that trap of, well, we don't have one of those widgets, whatever that widget is, so we can't do that. And it may be one of those things where I know when I was growing up is we used to have to go down and search the basement for stuff that they threw away, that we got all this automatic stuff to make it easier to go back to find the old school stuff to put on there that we were trying to kind of reinvent the wheel now. And maybe you have to go search your basement or where all of your excess stuff is kept. And maybe you can find a nozzle or something like that you can at least take out and try.
The old plate pipe is still there.
Exactly.
It still works.
Right. And maybe the one with the leather on the handles and the big hook where you would hook to the parking meter. But still, you can go out and train with it to try and convince somebody that, hey, this is the direction that we need to maybe start moving. Because a lot of it's about the money.
Hopefully it comes down to that.
Do we have the money to buy what we were trying to buy to make it easier? Yeah.
I think, while we're talking about hose and, maybe we'll just transition into the, gallons per minute required and the different fire flow formulas that are out there. The one that, Fire by Trade went through at the last, Backstep Symposium. The one that most of us, know and have used forever would be the length times width divided by 3. That's 100% involvement. The key to most of these fire flow formulas that isn't really talked about is most of them are for 30 seconds of flowing too. So, that's really not kind of part of it. But I found after, if you look at this page here, it'll show you 185 GPM, roughly good for a 20 by 25 room, 500 square feet. So a single hand line shooting 160-ish, which would be the fire service goal, 160 GPM, for a good 1 to 2 room fire. Slayer's was a little different. It was GPM times 3.
Yeah, GPM times 3 gives you your square footage. So GPM that your nozzle's putting out times 3. That'll give you a basic of what square footage room you can put out with that.
Square feet of fire.
Square feet of fire, yeah.
So, square foot. So in the same case, 185 GPM with a 15/16. What's 185 times 3? Times 3.
555. 565.
He's always right there.
Jones.
Oh.
So square feet. So in the similar format, we're talking about 565 square feet.
555.
555. The other formula, 166 GPM. And the nice thing about this formula is before you go. But we know what the GPM is on our nozzle. Whatever nozzle you use. If you're using the 125 fix that I saw some of these guys were using, the advantage to that fire flow formula is I know what, now I just have to know the square footage. I'm not trying to do the math while I'm there. I know that 555. And obviously, because I didn't know that, I need to memorize that. But, 500 square feet is a good rule of thumb for a single hand line.
And that kind of ties into something else that Slayer was talking about as far as with your choosing your hand line. 1 3/4 is going to be your room and content. That's your 500 square feet. Pull your 2.5 when you have an entire floor that's on fire. Hit the deck gun when it's the entire building. Just quick thinking. I got room and contents. My standard go-to would be 1 3/4. The whole floor is on fire. 2.5.
And I think that's where some people miss that, I think, when they do their length times width and divide by 3 and have it for square footage. But my experience, if that thing's already self-ventilated and everything else, the 1 3/4 is not going to work. If you don't have that box in, right, you get that steam conversion and everything else, they're going to have to be bigger.
Well, I think what you said before this too was before this class.
Right.
Is important.
Yeah, I usually know in 10 or 20 seconds when I start flowing water, I see water flowing. If we don't make a change, with 2 things, either one, we're not getting to the seat of the fire, right? Or 2, we don't have enough GPM.
Well, that's one of the things that you should always look for. And I think they talk about is if you're putting on an adequate amount of water to overcome the BTUs, 30 seconds, you should be able to see a difference.
Yeah.
So when you're into 20 or 30, it's back to, is it 30 feet or is it 80 feet? Back to our hose kind of discussion again. So whether it's that minute, okay, I can start to see a difference in what's going on here. But if you're not making that improvement, then you're not either getting the water where it needs to be, or we don't have a big enough line. Right.
I remember you showing me that many years ago, bell curve that you can use a boat.
Right. Right.
I'm going to fire and say, I'm going to put water on, I'll put it out. When 2 things are going to happen. You're going to put it out, and all the coming, or the fuel is gonna be gone and the fire will go out. So where do you meet that bell curve?
Right.
Just probably a lot of different.
What were you speaking to about the different decision levels for class? You're talking about whether it's tactical.
Oh, what we were talking about before the class was we were talking about the length times width divided by 3. And the way I always tried to think about that process was it's either an 1 3/4 fire or a 2 1/2 fire or a dead fire. Those were the 3 kind of boxes that we went into. But when we start thinking about the length times widths and what I call the critical flow formulas, whichever one you're using, it doesn't matter. That's when you're out doing your pre-plans and you pull up, or captain or the incident commander sitting out in front of the car, out in front with the car, and he's looking at the 30 seconds or the 20 seconds or whatever he's looking at. And he's going, I'm not seeing a huge change here. And so always trying to think ahead is like, okay, who's going to be my next go-to and how much water am I going to need in order to make things better when I pull the guys out because they're not making a difference. And so as that, to me, the guy sitting in that right front seat making those decisions, I don't want to say it and dumb it down and say it's not complicated, but it's either in this box, and sometimes with this box I can be maybe aggressive and get in and get the water where I need it, and I can do it, or it's in this box, or we're going to go to the deck end, whatever that is, and not try and really overthink it, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah.
Anything else on hose, nozzles? Bob? Again, if you guys have questions or want to talk about something, just write it on the chat box.
Yeah, I just one quickly. Is anybody using automatic?
Yes. We still use automatics in our pumper loads now. And it's kind of well, it's going to be all of them. It's kind of the place where all the old nozzles got to die. Right? As you start replacing
But
nozzles.
it's not your initial attack line if you're going.
No.
Interior obstruction.
That was the mission of Steve's recommendation.
Steve was making sure we knew what we were doing.
Thanks, John.
So we'll move from, I think we're going to skip ladders first. Should we go straight to RIT? I think we'll go to RIT with Mayday. Talk about that. We've been teaching RIT, self-survival, managing the Mayday all over the state in the last couple of years, well, for a long time. And we developed our shorthanded tactics class based on the decision that most of these departments that we're teaching RIT at don't have enough people for a RIT team. I think while that's true, I think that regardless of whether they have enough people or not, or whether they have an established RIT team, somebody's got to do something. So the training, the individual skill training, both self-survival and rapid intervention, is imperative to all departments and all firefighters, regardless of size. And we kind of got away from a lot of that because they're like, well, we're not going to have 4 engines. Well, that's true, but when the first engine, if you only have 2 on the engine, and the first guy goes in and starts going fire and gets stuck, what are you going to do? Something has to happen. We're going to have the same conversation with search next, but when it comes to RIT, I feel like, we're not putting enough emphasis on how important it is regardless of department size. And just my point being that I don't care how many people you have. When Fritz goes down, someone's got to do something. So you can call it whatever you want. You can call it a RIT team. If you don't have a RIT team, back up just the guy outside or the fire chief out at the buggy, whatever it is. We need to be trained up at all levels, at all departments, on many of those skills.
I agree with you. No, you said it pretty well. And then there's so many of those skills that on your self-rescue stuff. That, you got to stay up on them. I know I won't stay up on them like I used to. Not that much in suburban. So.
I guess when you said that, Justin, what was running through my mind was, where's the disconnect? Is it from, and I know it's not Captain Clutter because, you know, he said that. Is the disconnect then because we, and I say we, the incident commanders or who's not running it, don't prioritize it and make it? That we have a RIT team, or is it?
Well, I think that's part of it based on number of people, but I think culturally, it's because we say to ourselves, we don't have enough people. You know, I don't think, well, if Shoshone...
So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not calling out Shoshone.
No.
They've come to our RIT class, but, you know, a lot of departments that we've gone to, they brush off RIT because the title of the team concept is not for them. So you call it whatever you want. Right? I mean, yeah.
There's 5 or 6 acronyms.
Well, we run with some smaller departments, and we ran with a small department, and they had another smaller department come in, and they said, "Yep, you got to RIT system." So what asked the folks that Indian had RIT training, one person had RIT training, and to me, they're just sitting right by the truck. They had no tools, nothing, not ready to perform. So I just went to told Mike, I was a safety officer, and I said, "No, you don't have to RIT team." And then the chief of that pulled me aside and said, "But I have to RIT team." I said, "No, you don't." And I explained it to him, and then I think he got the message. But to me, it's not RIT team. If you hear the RIT team, I'm thinking, well, I'm excited to hear the team on. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah, do something with that. But there's so much more that we can do, even when you have the shorter numbers today. You get the right training, you can still, you're a second engineer. I think you can get off the truck, make sure that whatever strategy they're doing, get another site up on the and making sure they're making progress. Because there might not be an instant commander outside. You can throw ladders to the second floor, give them a secondary egress, check the rear doors and whatever door they did go in, make sure they can open for them, and still stop in buildings. And I think there's a lot that can be done, even without an official.
You suggested like your engineer and driver could do something.
Yeah.
Either up the line, guess what? I'm gonna toss the ladder over here, I'm gonna do a few things that just to at least keep preparing for something. I have another question. Is it possible that some of the Mayday information coming out that says most Maydays are self-rescues, the guy in the next room rescued them, are people looking at some of that going, you know, I don't need a written all the time. The numbers are telling us that the teams are actually making a rescue. I'm just throwing it out there. Is that possible that there are departments that look at that and say, you know what, the stats are not saying that we need that?
I was thinking, the last couple of our fires were all running contents, and I'll be honest with you, by the time the fire was out, it was working.
Right. And I get
It's already done.
I get that, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's a possibility
We
that,
still had them until we had extensive check, once we had turkeys and bodies here. But we did have that proof.
Well, and that's it. You go to a small department and you've got your initial crew going in, you've got your 2 out, and then where's your next truck? I mean, that's so they may not be formally RIT, but they're the 2 out and they're the 2 that may have to go in and make a rescue if something bad happens.
I guess what I was thinking along those same lines is, where do you draw that line in the sand and say, okay, we don't need a RIT team, we don't need a backup line,
right.
we don't need somebody to do search.
You start, that pyramid is now collapsing on you.
Right, right. And I guess I didn't start the fires in to quote a very smart man that's way smarter than I am when we talk about Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is our priority because that's what we're here to do, is to save Mrs. Smith or to make her day better. But at the end of the day, it's all of us that when the pyramid, as Mike says, starts to fall down, Mrs. Smith, we didn't cause the problem here, but we're here to help and make it better. So that's priority. That to me should
Well, I
be
agree.
priority. Yeah.
Because if I don't take care of the guys,
Right.
they don't care about this Smith to some degree.
Right.
We gotta take care of our own.
Right. So as I say, where does the line start and stop? If we're going to do this, but not this, and we're going to short this to do this, and whether that's the mindset, we don't have enough people, or the people aren't trained. And I guess maybe it would be nice for everybody to go to a RIT class, but I think there's some good techniques that you can use that you don't have to go to a RIT class, that you could share on the apparatus floor about how to get Mike out or Jeff out or whoever out of the bad way that they're in.
So you could say maybe we change the mindset for those who are out, on how they're paying attention to what's going on inside, what they're
Right.
trying to be, anticipating those needs you saw in the building.
Right.
Yes, speak up.
I think that plays into Project Mayday. I don't know how many people have seen it. They basically projectmayday.net is the website. And if you go to, when you go to the main Project Mayday and you go up in the upper right, there's docs. And then it breaks it down between, career and volunteer. So just, I opened career one just for an example.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. And as you scroll through this, and I'm not going to read it to you because it's over 300 pages, but I think it goes to how they got the information. And essentially, this is similar to firefighterrescuesurveys.com, where if you call a Mayday or someone in your organization called a Mayday, they're asking you to submit the information on the Mayday. The nice part about it is it breaks it down to time of day, Mayday. So this one that we're looking at, this report, is based on 4,337 career departments. Component 1, 2, and 3, how many replied to each component. And then as you get through this, it's now just graph after graph after graph. But the cool part about it is there is a lot of information.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody should kind of read through it because it does break it down categorically into everything you think of. How many hours you work, how many days, how many six off, did you have this, how many calls, time of day, all that. It gives you some pretty hard numbers on when it happens, what it happens, what it includes in the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, like the one we're on now, was a 360 completed, 61% of Maydays called it was not complete. I mean, that's a pretty big number when we talk about Maydays. And like Chief said, it goes through, 4896 work schedules, modified Detroit work schedules, 2472s, so that it's not based just on, random numbers, and we can make data look however we want it to. It really does break it down. So check that one out. We're not going to go through it too much, but I just want to make sure people know that it's out there.
Do you remember that number, Mike?
No, just thinking about it.
One of the things that we did a pools training up in Grafton here a year or so ago, and Mike threw out a statistic, and I'll probably get it wrong here, of why crews don't call for a Mayday, if I don't say this right.
No, go ahead. Throw it out. No, go ahead.
The number that I was thinking was like 3/4 of the time, that the reason that the crews don't call for a Mayday is they don't have any confidence in the crew that's outside that would be expected to perform the Mayday.
That was one of the highest.
Which is really, I was like, wow,
And it all
that
fell
to me
back
was pretty
on,
amazing.
well, our department hardly ever trains. Yeah, we got RIT, but we don't hardly ever train on it, so I have no confidence they're gonna come get me or my partner, so I'm just gonna see if we can get out of here ourselves. And
But once again, I guess, are we getting in the box where we have to have formal RIT training, or I know that we're that we're a squared away bunch, because we do train, and we train on firefighter rescue. It may not be all the RIP things, but I know that they're squared away and can do the job to come get me if I need it.
Real quick, and I'm gonna let you guys answer this, because I already have a pretty strong opinion on it, but, your thoughts. So Chief Isaacson, has a theory on delaying the hydrant to get adequate resources on scene, to get lines into place and flowing. Essentially, it's the don't need water until you have the people concept. And in general terms, typically we do second due engines takes the hydrant, right? So first due engine to the scene, second due engine takes the hydrant, third due engine would then come to the scene. If in roundabout, and station 3, you can correct me if I'm misrepresenting, but in a roundabout way, let's just call it first due engine goes to the scene, 500 to 750 gallons. Second due engine goes to the scene, another 500 to 750 gallons. And then your third due engine would then bring in the water supply if needed. So, I mean, we're taking the hydrant so early that, not so early, we're taking the hydrant and using people in positions where we could be pulling off searches, we could be getting another hose line in place, could be getting water on the fire quicker, but we're worried about running out of water when we're bringing in, 1,250 gallons or, 1,500 gallons in the first 2 minutes. So they want to make a thoughts on that.
I would agree. I'd probably in an urban setting and you have the engines coming and there's going to be right on top of it going down. Maybe not so much. I guess if you only have one engine and the next engine's long ways out, depending on what your operations are, you might want that. I guess I'd probably leave it up to the officers to make that decision. I mean, they did. The second due engine didn't always get the hydrant. I have some issues with that. In our scenario, the way we're set up, because we can do a lot. Both bread and butter fires, we don't even use 100 gallons of water. And so we're getting there quicker.
We just went over GPMs versus square footage. I mean, it doesn't take much water, and
It's applied
1,
correctly,
2,
right?
3.
We talked about this when we do to kind of fast forward just a little bit, the tender ops is, you show up with 3,000 gallons of water, pick a number. But if you're putting the water where you need to put the water, and you're not putting it on shingles and siding and grass and gravel and all the other things where we see them spray water, the 750 gallons will last 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So like you say, do you need to establish that water supply right away? Can we forego that to do some other
Get reset on the fire.
Right. And that goes back to me, a mindset from the firefighters through training that we don't put water on smoke, we don't put it on shingles, we don't put it on siding, we don't make grass greener in the summer, and all those other silly things where we put water. And it's not doing anything for the good of the cause.
The only thing I was going to say is the appropriate water usage, something that a couple of the stations where you guys did after they took this class was came back and flowed their lines and timed how much time.
Right.
You can do the math and get a roundabout, but they went back and timed it. Okay, this line, full tank, I've got this much time of continuous flow. Just so you have, if you do know that your next, or your water supply is delayed, you've got 3 to 4 minutes on our trucks worth of water to flow before you're out. Continuous flow.
And I'm extended.
In our situation.
In our
situation. Yeah.
But you talk to Johnny Miller and their situation,
Totally different.
hopefully you can hook the hydrant when you arrive on scene by yourself.
Well, it is, that fire we had on Miles Avenue. One engine response, the night unit, and the battery. And that was it for, I can't use it at the time, but it worked. Actually made a hydrant, I didn't know that well.
And that was
Here's a whole 5-inch, like, go get it.
another comment from Station 3 is just they've had some success when they're dealing with two-man engine. You've got multiple two-man engine crews.
Right.
Think about taking a hydrant with a two-man engine.
Well, not only that, I mean, you ride first with 2 people. I need more people. The priorities that we're placing on water supply shouldn't be above search. Shouldn't be above, getting the line in place. But that's where we're putting it because that's how we've always done it. Well, and you guys, those that were in my Fire Officer 1 class a couple months ago, I mean, they know how fired up I get about this, but we have chiefs that get paid to come up with these books of standards, but we don't follow the standards, or the standards are outdated, or the standards, here's our standard, but your standard's totally different. Or we're supposed to have the same
And we
standard.
work like back to back.
Yeah.
I mean, we're there.
And I think it's something that, especially when you're talking about something like this, I mean, the miscommunication you could have in the gray area, which is essentially where we're operating right this second. Okay, typically second dude takes the hydrant. This time, let's hope third dude takes it. That gray area could get people, one bad thing leads to another, which leads to another, leads to another.
Well, it's going to be if it's not communicated.
Right.
I think you depend on what you have too. If you have a giant shop that's on fire and you're just gonna throw it in master stream, then it's gonna look like you're more productive if you're getting that water supply to it and you can continue the master stream. If you take out a few engines, do something where you're just gonna throw some master stream, and now you have to shut down operations because you haven't prioritized that water supply, could be perceived as, oh, I'm gonna go now, right?
Right.
But yeah, obviously, residential having additional manpower.
But maybe the master stream's not the best. I mean, maybe we need to train more on handling a 2.5, right? Let's lower the GPM. We're still able to place it, but until our second or third due engine gets there, I'm not throwing, 500, 750 at the fire, hoping that water's coming. Now I'm dropping it down to 300, 325, trying to gain another minute. Yeah, and then half your tank on aiming, which is something that we've been talking about recently, and we're going to add shot valves to our deck guns because, with 2-person engines specifically, the engineer has to jump up, raise the deck gun, jump down, fire it up, jump back up, hope that we're aiming, because most of the time we shoot over the top, right? We waste half our tank. When if we had somebody up there, we could, open and close it quickly and save the water and try to utilize the water more appropriately. Do you guys have any? You guys don't have shut-offs? I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
You do have them. Yeah. It seems to work good.
Again, the problem still is if it's just a 2-man engine,
Yeah.
you're still got to get up there, but you can
Right.
shut it off and then
Readjust.
And we're, in my mind, it's always left on.
Right.
Just, and then if we have the firefighter, then they can get up and control.
Well, with ours, they have to get up there anyways. Because you gotta get up there, for us, we have to get up there and raise it and position it before you.
pop the rise on.
Yeah, you gotta raise it and stuff like that, so. And you're up and down the truck anyways if it's just engineering. But hopefully you can get it set and ready to go and have a little bit more control.
I guess what I was thinking, Justin, was when you were talking about, and I think I know where we're going, but establishing the water supply, you're talking hooking to a hydrant, and essentially not using those resources there for something better. And I guess what I was just thinking along those lines is not to confuse the issue, is maybe there is a time where you may want to drop a guy at the hydrant, just wrap the hydrant, and then have him get back on the engine
Right.
And then
Yeah.
go.
That's
So-
what I was thinking.
So not to say that we're not gonna do a piece of this puzzle. We're gonna take a different look at it and say, maybe we're not gonna leave a guy at the hydrant and get the water going to the engine, to it going in, but we're gonna lay the line in dry. My guy's gonna come with me, and we can still do some tasks, but it could make it quicker for the second company coming in, or the third, or whoever's there.
You guys do a lot of forwarding?
We don't do a lot of dry lays.
Dry lays.
Yeah, I mean, in general, obviously longer driveways, right?
And we're, I mean, I get it for, but you know, when you're in a hydrant area, it's like, I think it's what right there.
Yeah, and a lot of it's the same reason we pull the pre-connect.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
No, I agree. We
Right.
can't remember the last time we actually laid line in, and like you said, either drop one guy, grab
Yeah.
him, go get him back on the road, grab the forward, get up, go to work, and set. That would be, make that work.
I think it kind of plays into this. So we had a training about a year ago from County Chief Sandy that was actually really good, and a good reminder of delivery rate calculations for rural operations. And, you know, we all kind of just, I say that, generally speaking, we just try to get as many tenders as we think we need, or ask for all of them, instead of taking a couple of seconds and knowing beforehand what kind of delivery rate to get. This one, it's kind of messed up on my computer, but tender flow, so tank size minus 10%, the 10% for, you know, lost water, whether it's just because of angle, whatever. Minus
filling them right away, all the way to the top.
Right, exactly. Divided by your trip time equals the GPM. So 1,800 gallon tank minus 10%, so 180 equals 1620. If you have an 18-minute, and that would be back and forth, so 9 minutes each way, plus filling, you're delivering 90 gallons per minute. Yeah, I think
I think that trip time included.
That's probably all.
That's-
all-
that's your
the whole water to water, yeah.
Your entire time.
all right, here. I can't, yeah, there you go. So tender delivery rate, the amount of GPM a tender can deliver to an incident, dump time plus travel time plus fill time plus return time minus the 10%. For GPM, so your trip time is what they're calling all of that, travel, fill, return. So if you took, if you use the fire flow calculations, you know, we were talking about earlier, and tried to decide what kind of GPM you need to sustain GPM, you know, then you would know how many tenders you need.
Yeah, I got a 300 gallon fire, you know, I can make some quick math notes and say, I need some more. Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, to be honest, most of us ballpark it.
True.
I mean, we're guessing.
That's true.
And we don't know if you go to this one, you know, I mean, I don't have those memorized. So I'm calling for tenders.
Right.
That 3,200 gallon tender of Whirlers looks pretty dang good. You know, when we're starting to do these calculations.
Fill time's flexible.
That's true. Yeah, fill time.
Which should have shown that.
Let's see.
Johnny, what do you guys have for tenders?
Is that Larry's one?
What's a tender?
City.
She breaks it into 10%.
They asked that. Okay. They might have a hard second.
I'll be right back.
You want to, should we just take a quick 5-minute break?
Yeah, we can take this, not even 5.
It's 8:06 right now. Let's come back at 8:10.
8:10.
Great.
You'll get it. Because I've never done it before. So I mean,
I know, he was like right in the
Okay, we're gonna,
See if they have any questions.
we're gonna get started here. We got about 30, 40 more minutes, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Does anybody have any questions so far? Anything we missed? Anything you disagree with us on? Or agree with us on?
If you want to talk, you can, or to ask a question, just click on your microphone and you can, we should be able to hear you. Not seeing anything?
I mean, like cluttered is definitely not a tender I got.
I am tender,
He's definitely tender.
sensitive,
He's in a protected class.
and a protected class.
All right. So we'll just kind of pick up where we left off on rural water supply, dump tank operations. We were talking at the break just briefly about the difference between dropping a tank and nursing off the tenders. Where do you want to start, Chief?
Yeah, it's kind of, when we go to different places, it seems like we try and get the fire with kind of what water we have in a tank, and we don't want to go ahead and make that next transition to get the folded tank on the ground and start to get water in it. And then at that point, what I kind of call maybe the breakover point, where we don't have enough gallons per minute, we're really behind the curve then at that point. Instead of getting the folded tank on the ground, getting it filled up, and start to get that tender shuttle going, like Lieutenant Sandy said, all of those factors that play into that. How many gallons can you deliver when you have a 20-minute turnaround time? And as my thought is, it's good. If nothing else, it's good training. We're going to get the tank off. We're going to figure out how it comes off the apparatus. We're going to get it positioned where it's going to work and be to our advantage rather than just trying to do the nurse thing. And I guess that's when, at least when I try and talk to the folks about their rural water supply is to make that next transition, just to get it on the ground, get it going. It's going to take a while to get the hard sleeve off, get the draft, and all of those pieces of the puzzle that maybe we don't do a lot of time to do that drafting operation.
And I would see that as part of the reason why people are hesitant to drop the tank, is because then you have to pull a draft. But the amount of time that is wasted when you're doing the nursing operation and then waiting for that turnaround time, it's such a benefit in my mind to get that tank on the ground, dump the tank, and go get that tender filled. My best case scenario is I have 2 tenders sitting there that are full, ready to dump, and I don't need their water. And it's being comfortable as an engineer to make that transition to a static source. And that's it. It's not a hard thing if you train on it regularly, but it is intimidating if you're not training on it regularly.
Can you speak to the challenges you ran into that nursing operation you were talking about?
During the break, we were talking about a shop fire that we had. It wasn't a huge fire. We were just it was basically it was burning down to the ground. But we did the nursing situation. We only had 2 tenders, and we found ourselves in not having any water because the amount of time that it took them to go to the hydrant, refill, and then you have the tender sitting there for 10 minutes giving you their water. Where, as opposed to if you have a tank, you're dumping that tank in a matter of minutes.
That's the key right there.
And that's the key is that water is now in your tank, waiting for you to use it, as opposed to waiting for that tender to slowly give you that water, and then they're out of water trying to go get it.
They have to start that whole time cycle to go fill and drive.
And then we hook up that other tender that comes in.
Right. And the thing along, you're exactly right, Mitchell, and then to take that to the next progression is to set up 2 folded tanks. If things aren't looking better yet, okay, we still need more water. Or we need to reduce the fuel on the bell curve. Something's got to go. Something's got to give. But with that being said, is how many times do we train or do we do a jet siphon operation where we can get 2 tanks, 3 tanks, whatever it is on the ground, and start moving the water from one to the other? In that scenario, it's kind of unlimited about the amount of water at that point. But do we make that next progression to start doing those things?
And if you are dropping that tank, being aware of apparatus placement and looking at your turnaround, you don't want your tender to have to back up a hill for 300 yards to get in and dump. You need to plan your turnaround and plan your truck placement when you're going to the rural setting. Plan, okay, I need to, as the engineer, I need to pay attention to where I park this truck, because if I do end up needing to draft, I need that tank within a certain area of where I'm placed.
This is a little off point, but that's one reason we spec out our tenders as tender pumpers. For just that reason, because of some of the years we go, and so, you know what, it's nice to have 350 GPM pump on a tender, but it's even better when you can pump structurally with 1,500 gallons of water. I can bring it, I can do tender ops, I can do, I have to pump it uphill to do another example. So that's the real advantage for that kind of spec method.
Great.
Anything else? Rural water supply stuff? Just as we get to the end of this, we'll have figured out how to use all this. So I was thinking we'll switch to search a little bit. Does that sound good? Talk about search. I think just to start, just like Project Mayday, if everybody at some point make sure that you go to Firefighter Rescue Survey, firefighterrescuesurvey.com. They just changed it a little bit, but you can look at the summary data. And this is just like Project Mayday. Whereas if you get a rescue, whether dead or alive, they're asking that you submit the information to them, and then you answer questions based on that. The nice thing is, so this is all just firefighter data, right? The stuff that we give them is the output that we get. So it's only as good as we give them. But a lot of people have been doing it, and I think for this year, I don't know how to get this thing out of the way. Turn it on. So right here, civilian home fire fatalities so far in 1900, 828 were submitted. So this is based on 828. They have the raw data. I think the important part of this, and I'll try to zoom it in, is, location, victim was found, proximity to the fire, path of extraction, nearest door, back through the same way you came, nearest window, alive or deceased. Were reports of victim location correct? 41% yes, or 17% no. That's almost 20%. 50-50. Yeah, exactly. Smoke conditions, let me find means of extraction. So, which room were they found? And again, this data, it's not, this graph we're looking at right now is not broken down by time of day. I mean, that's broken down into other charts, but they're not tied together. But I mean, if you look at this one, 44% in the bedroom, 10% in the hallway, 8% in the kitchen. Primary search found them 59% of the time. And there's a lot more data on here than this. My point being, when you take some of this stuff, and again, we're looking at a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, but in general terms, this is what's happened. And when asked why we search from the front door, and when we choose direction of search technique, so You know, we're no longer doing the, grab the boot,
Stay on the wall.
stay on the wall, right? Garage, you pull up to the house, you're looking at the outside. If the garage is on the Delta side of the house, well, why would we do a rank search, right? We know the bedrooms are on the left or upstairs or split entry. I mean, we should be knowing this information ahead of time that we're making decisions of search based on layout, fire conditions, and most known victim location. Right? Not based on time of day or any of that stuff, but known. I mean, this stuff helps us make those determinations. I think as we talk, I'm just making this transition into VES for smaller departments, for rural departments. The Shoshones, Worleys, you show up 2-3 people, whether reported or not reported victim inside, what do you do? I mean, let's say victims reported inside. Walk through that. Great. Mitchell?
I just had one. And I was the officer, arrived on scene, and I think en route we were updated, someone saying something about a victim. I get on scene and have someone come directly to me, say, she's inside, she went to bed last night in this bedroom. And I had never had that happen before. And holy crap, did it change things. Because, I mean, usually you get on scene and well, I don't know, they might be home, their cars are in the driveway, stuff like that. This one, I had the residents come out and say, inside in this area. And just working your way through it. I did my walk around, and with the conditions that I had, I made the decision not to do a VES and to go in through the front door. It was a small house. It would have taken me longer to do a VES than just to go through the door that was open right back to where she was. Turns out she wasn't there. Turns out she had left that night, and the roommates didn't know. But it's a lot different arriving on scene and have someone say, she's inside, she's in that room.
Yeah, the final one decides if the building first.
And that's what I did.
Well, I guess to spawn the conversation a little more, the role VS plays in one engine for the first 5-minute department. I mean, we're not expecting these guys to show up, pull a hose line, do a oriented search. I mean, they have 2 options, right? Pull a hose line and get water on fire, or do a search because of whatever information they were given. With 2 people on a fire truck, it's best that they, begin to read the building, decide if VES is the best option. And, I think when we taught short-handed tactics a lot, and Chief, that a lot of people get confused with VES being the second floor window. Everybody's seen baby Chelsea in the video, and that's kind of ingrained in their head that, well, VS is second floor. We're talking VS is whatever survivable space you can get in, based on what you see.
I was going to say, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mitchell, because when we have gone and done the short-headed tactics, a lot of times at the end of the day, the instructors have had this discussion.
Yeah.
When we walk away from this, that's what they're thinking is VES, and that's the only way to search.
Right.
Yes, and we've had that discussion. Right. But I think Mitchell hit the nail on the head, is when he's doing his walk around, he decided for the right reason, for whatever reason, the moon and stars lined up or whatever it was, but you made the decision that says VES is not going to, I have a better choice. I have a better choice, and my better choice is not to do this, but to do this. Right. And that's what I say, and I think that there's a lot of things that we have is they give us a lot of tools, they give us a lot of stuff to play with, and we don't always choose the same stuff every time based upon what we see or feel sometimes, or insight into maybe the building, or this didn't work last time kind of thing. So,
did you take a hose line?
We did not. And
What were the, yeah, what were the?
It wasn't a really, you were there, Fritz.
Yeah.
It wasn't a heavy smoke condition. You could get down, or you could see your feet. The fire was actually on the other side of the house from where the room was. From the door, I could see the bedroom, and I had a confirmed location of where she was. They had said that they had checked that it was a small house. Checked the other area on their way out. Just with the conditions I had, I knew that I had another truck right behind me, and I said, we're going in, we're going right here. And I had two people out pulling the hose line. When the two of us went in to that room, searched that room, by that time, the hose line was just getting ready to come in right behind us. So then we searched the rest of the house.
Which I think, and, I gave the earlier scenario to try to spawn the conversation here, but the other side of this is with 1 and 2 person engine companies that sometimes pulling the hose, and we just read on this survey from front door, kitchen, hallway, bedroom is, probable location. So you pull the hose line with you, you're kind of getting the search and the, fire attack in one. I mean, you have limited people, you have to do what you have to do.
You pull the 2 person engine and you got to fight your way to get to that back bedroom and someone told you that's where you're at. I probably would go through it.
Absolutely.
Not even worried about the hose line.
But
So if whatever that situation would dictate, and I think some of us are lucky because we have seen more fires and some experience of it. Where some of the newer people, I know, like when we talked to short-handed tactics, and we went BS. The next day we did scenarios with them, and everybody went BS, and then we just you can put the fire out in 2 seconds, and you thought, okay, we really missed the boat on this.
Yeah.
right.
And so.
And there are some departments out there that their rules policy is we don't go in search without a hose line. That's how we play the game.
Right.
And so with that, I don't want to say you knew you could get in and do what you did, and that goes back to training experience, all of these things that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I did go in without the hose line. I had the hose line being pulled, and that was, my battalion chief was okay with it.
Right.
It was just what I was given at that situation and the decision I made. The one thing this might be changing it a little bit, but recent article we read discussing how the big public safety.
You're happier if you retire early than you are.
We can touch on that article later.
Don't look at me.
It was talking about all of our public information, or our public education right now is focusing on shutting doors, bedroom doors, going to bed, or when you go to bed. And then we've all been on the fires where you see that bedroom door is shut, and the one side of the door is completely charred, burned. Go to the other side, and it's survivable. And how often the article was discussing, is it really untenable, or especially now that we have the doors being shut, we need to rethink when we're writing off untenable space or victim survivability when we're looking at that.
We gotta make search parties.
Exactly.
It was a fire by trade article. I'll look for it when we're talking about it, but the other part of that is
We're gonna bring up that other article.
the other part of that is if we're teaching these things, then we also have the obligation to go and search. I mean, we're telling you to shut your door because we're going to come get you, right? I mean, that's the other side of the coin.
Well, the numbers speak to primary search too, but pie chart we just pulled up, just 60% on primary search. Yeah. We were speaking to how we can make those decisions on whether a DES or in the front door based on experience. Do you have, with less experience, do you have some recommendations for like how we drill at the station for building some muscle memory on that decision making
Yeah, I think
process?
there's a lot of, when you go to YouTube, there's tons of videos to watch. you get tons of pictures of structure fires and stuff, and just read you have to read the building, read the fire, right? You have to, those two biggest things you have to know. And then just have debates. I mean, we'll sit and watch videos and we get some pretty good arguments over different things, you know, because I might look at that video and see something, and somebody else look at it and see something else. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you're right. You know, but I would do it this way, and each one you see something.
I made some, I call them quick drills. It's fourth reader. Quick drills called Go, No, Go. And they're nothing more than photographs of structure fires at all various stages. Light, smoke to pretty much fully involved. And all it is quick. You have no knowledge of whether they're occupied or not. And nobody's telling you how to feel. You got to make some decisions because, like you said, sir, you got to do both. And simply just clicking through some of those and letting you guys look at it and say, well, that's a go. Or, that's a no-go.
Yeah, this area's a go.
That exactly right. That part, yeah, that part of the house, that promise, so yeah, we're talking there over. And that kind of helps us.
I think we're so fortunate having YouTube and, I mean, just spending hours just watching fire, because we don't see the fire that they saw in the older days. We don't see a lot of fire.
DC Morrison and I talked this very point in the last fire we had when we came to ours field just the other day. Just when I bring enough of these, you guys have to go out and they have to trade. They have to. You cannot put trade aside because we don't live in Detroit where I get a fire every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have YouTube where we can watch, you can go on right now and watch 50 hours of buildings burning down and watch and see different scenarios. And I spend a lot of time just running through my head, this is what I would do, this might be tenable, this might not be tenable, you know, side ups.
One of the things that I was thinking about this search is, I think in some ways we kind of do a disservice to our firefighters, to our brothers, when we're first bringing them on board and training them with them. Because we ingrain it in their head that I have to take care of who's with me, which we do. Work with me a little bit. But with that same thought is if Mike and I are crawling down the hallway going into the fire, do I have to be on his boot?
I can see, I can touch it.
I can see you, I can hear you spray water, I can hear the nozzle on the floor. So with some communication here, Mike, I'm going to get off the line and search in this room, whether I hook my boot on the line and I can reach in 10 feet, 6 feet and search into that room. I don't know that we ingrain that into the guys enough. That it seems to me like a lot of times when we're training, whoever that backup guy is just a backup guy. He's humping the hose in, which that's part of your job. I mean, we have a lot of hats we have to wear when we go into that building, all the way from the fire officer down to the nozzle guy. And to kind of maybe get back to that a little bit was, that is my job to get hose into the nozzle person, but also there's some other things that I can do to help the guy sitting out front to check his box, that primary search. Or the search crew coming in to tell them, I've already searched this room, there's nobody in there, which will speed up the progress for them in order to do their job. Say, we've searched the fire room, or we've searched the rooms on the right going to the fire room. Now you search the left or whatever that may be. So that, when you're looking at just a few people on the fire scene, can help make it quicker and easier, not only for Mrs. Smith, but other people coming in to help to do their job. So getting back to that is trying to wear different hats, but doing it coordinated. That I know where you're at, you know where I'm at, and we still, at the end of the day, do our job.
This is the article that we were talking about. It's Victims Expecting Search, VES, Brian Brush. So it's on Firefighter Nation. Maybe I'll copy it into the chat box. If you haven't seen it, do it. The other one, Station 3 just posted, is another good one. And that one's going to be lessons learned from a civilian rescue. And this was in 2013, and we've talked about this a lot in a lot of the classes that we've done, but the difference between the rescue handies and the dummies that we're doing in training and the real victims. And, I mean, we had one in our district. He was a heavy set, and we literally had to put him in a target to get him out. I mean, we weren't prepared necessarily for how different it was from the dummies that we've been pulling for the last 5 to 10 years, and not preparing for that ahead of time was not good. I think, regardless of your level of preparation, read the article. I think it's Sean Gray, and I think he's with, I can't remember which training group he's with, but maybe the one of the Know Your Flow groups, I think. Anyway, it's a good article that's posted in the chat box as well. And the other key, that we were gonna talk about, but we're running out of time, is, you and your crew, whoever that is, or your station or your whole organization, being on the same page as far as, what harness you're going to use or what webbing you're going to do, or how many people put the webbing on. In all of our RIT classes we've taught, I mean, the more people that get involved, the worse it is. Just the bigger mess you get in. And when you start separating duties, air supply, picture you're on the head, I got the harness, I'm going to build this quick harness to get them out. We're going upstairs, downstairs. Do we have to lower them out a window? Are we prepared to lower them out a window? Do we have the setup already prepared so I can lower out the second story window? What about just carrying them? Actually be limp. I mean, we've all lifted dead people. I mean, the reality is it's different. So what harness are you going to use? What about if it's a firefighter? Well, are you going to use their DRD? Are you going to use their SCBA? Is their SCBA going to slip off their arms if you don't pre-connect it? I mean, all of those things, whatever those are for each organization, I think it's imperative that everybody's on the same page. And harnesses, a drag rescue device, I guess would be a better word for it, but a civilian harness is one of those. Whether you chicken wing them, for just a short drag out, or whether you're going to do a full body harness to get them up on a windowsill, up the stairs, whatever it is. Your organization should probably only have 1 or 2 variations of what the plan is.
And that's something, the victim rescue, that's something you can do during your truck checks. We were doing it for a while. Do our truck checks, everyone's out on that floor. Real quick, someone lays down and just practice doing it fast with gloves on. I mean, it's 5 minutes of training in the morning, but that muscle memory, and then when you're in the situation, you're not thinking about it. You're getting that person out of there as fast as possible. Which pocket your webbing's in. Your webbing's pre-tied, it's in a specific pocket, your carabiners ready if that's what you're using, and it's just practicing 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't think it should be tied to one. I mean, we would use a different way for different extractions, but it should be 1 or 2, 2 or 3. These are 3 we use. We use the chicken wing for short drags, no stairs. We use the full body, the double X's, for more intensive rescue, whatever that is. I mean, there's 1,000 of them out there. I mean, we know the ones that work well for us because we practice them, we do them. They're the ones that we use all the time. But
it's funny, they don't think about the DRD because we don't ever want to pull it in training. But
I think that's a bit of a disservice, is that the DRD is there for a reason. And when was the last time in training that you pulled it? And why not? Why don't we pull it?
Well, some of it too is its length.
Right, that's just right.
I mean, the more friction that we're dragging on the ground, the harder it is for us to. And so I think it extends really far. And in training, it hurts.
It does hurt. But what I'm afraid of is you're not going to, in the actual situation, you're going to sit there for way too long messing around when you could have just thrown it
And
over
that's
the
the
shoulder.
impact on, I think I'd rather,
Right.
pull on that. I mean, that's just, it's quick, simple, it's on, short, we can lift, we can hook up to our harness that we already have in the turnouts and get lift with them. I mean, there's just more variation. I don't think either one's right or wrong by any means. I just, in my mind, I think when I pull the DRD, it's 2.5, 3 feet out, which, again, if we're gonna do a mechanical advantage using the carabiner and I get to the doorway, well, that would work perfect for that.
Well, maybe even along those same lines, and I'm just thinking, and I go back to the air pack as well, but if you're bringing a firefighter up the stairs, and it's a bigger firefighter, then you may want to get the DRD, and it goes back to what's in my toolbox, what do I have to work with here? Get the DRD, one person to lift, one person on the legs to shove. Now we've got 3 people, rather than 2 sideways in the stairs trying to lift.
That's true.
So it goes back to that, what kind of resources do I have in order to accomplish the task? Yeah. But that probably wouldn't be my first go-to either, would be the DRD.
Yeah,
I don't think, I'm with you. I can't remember, in all fairness, the last time we trained, used the DRD on the pack or
Which means we're probably will think of it
the weather.
if we're not training on it.
Yeah.
We aren't going to think of it when it's time, or when we're in that situation. If we don't practice using it.
But you don't have to pull it each time, Mitchell. What I'm saying is that in that
Right,
situation,
no, absolutely.
you can reinforce it. Okay, if I have 3 people and the stairs are this wide, now Justin could get the DRD, I could get on one side and lift between my legs or however it is that works out and do it that way. But it's reinforcing it to have that as an option. And that's back to the muscle memory thing.
You can almost just put your hand on it and verbalize it, like you're going through a skill sheet on
Right.
national
Right.
history.
Exactly. Yeah.
sorry. I was thinking. Yeah, I mean, it's 8:45. I know we don't want to go too much longer, so.
No question.
Out of everything we had on the list, I still have a lot to go over. We'll do it again next time. Does anybody have any questions for anybody up here? Anything we missed or want to talk about?
Feedback?
Was it worth their time?
Jonesy, were you trying to talk? We didn't hear you. He's gonna text it or chat. Was it worth you guys' time? Do you think some of the pools group should keep trying to pull off?
Messages. John said no. Oh, here, I'll scroll up there, sorry. I'm doing too many.
So, Mitchell's gonna pull these chats up real quick. We are gonna try to convert this and, get it out there. My guess is we're gonna have to upload it to probably Secondary's website as a place to host, so people can go get it. As soon as we do that, we will, pools will email that out. Does that work? So last, as we finish up, just a couple of reminders that we have hands-on training, 2 houses side by side, just outside of Wallace, 19th, 23rd. We're gonna do different skills both days. So if you wanna come to both days, great. If you wanna come to just one, great.
The address is for the Wallace Fire Station, so we're gonna meet there beforehand. They don't have enough room for everybody to park up.
I have that. I have that.
Yeah.
So I think the plan is to meet at Wallace Fire Station. We'll meet earlier. But the students will meet at Wallace Fire Station at 10. And then, well, you come up together as a group, then we'll train till 3-ish, whatever.
I think Chief Cagle and Johnny Miller, we owe them a huge thank you. They got these 2 buildings and approached us and said, hey, you guys want to come train with us? And, I mean,
Who says no?
how do you turn down two buildings? And the more the merrier.
We're gonna do we are gonna do a lot of RIT drills, self-survival drills, basement fire drills, search. We're gonna do a lot of search. And then depending on the students and the time we get, we'll move from there. But those are kind of the initial thoughts we want to try to get through. Some RIT stuff, some self-survival stuff, search stuff, and basement fire stuff. They both have basements, I think, so it'd be a perfect opportunity for all of us to refresh ourselves on some of those skills. So,
Especially with an acquired structure.
yeah, on an acquired structure, we can't burn in it based on we don't have permits, or the insurance. But we'll be able to smoke it up, attack, ventilation, rescues upstairs. I mean, all that stuff. So
We're going to meet at 619 Cedar Street in Wallace, and we're going to meet at 10 a.m.
if you're interested in coming, shoot fools, COI@gmail.com. Shoot them an email to RSVP just so we have a heads up. Make sure we have enough instructors and equipment. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for spending the evening. We're going to bounce out.